small group. I'm sure more people will join us, and I also realize this is kind of in the break between semesters. But we have with us a very distinguished guest, Dr. Ron Harichandran, who is Dean of College of Engineering at University of New Haven. We're excited about what he's gonna talk to us about because this is very, very, I think, critical and appropriate and useful for our program, IUC program, Consortium Colleges. We'd like to see if we can take maximum benefit from these modules that are available and that you will hear about. So with that introduction, I would like to give it over to Ron. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Krishna. So good afternoon, everyone. My topic, as you can see on the screen there, is about trying to develop an entrepreneurial mindset in engineering students. And this is a work that we are doing under the sponsorship of an agency called the Kern Family Foundation. And the motivation for doing this, I know when I was in India at ICTIE in January, there were a number of schools already in India also very much enthusiastic about working on entrepreneurship and so on. And the Kern Family Foundation and we are of the view that for future engineers that we are graduating, that the purely technical skills of engineering alone are not going to be sufficient, that they have to be entrepreneurial in the way that they approach problems. This does not necessarily mean that they all need to be entrepreneurs and start their own companies, but really have a way of thinking that is entrepreneurial, so that even if they are within an existing company, that they have an out-of-the-box thinking, creative approaches, and so on to their problem solving. And this is what we wanted to develop with this program. I have listed there my other colleagues who are all faculty at the University of New Haven who are a part of this project. This is the outline of my talk. So I will just quickly go through a background, give you the framework for what we call entrepreneurial thinking, the particular implementation that we have devised, and some of the lessons we have learned and future work. And as well as how you can participate in this project as well. The components of an entrepreneurial mindset are listed here, and these are defined by the Kern Entrepreneurial Engineering Network. So this is a network of about 25, 26 schools that is growing. All of them are supported by the Kern Family Foundation. So the schools have established a network, and so the entrepreneurial mindset is defined really as one that possesses curiosity, having connections between different sources of knowledge and being able to apply them, and creating value in the marketplace. So with whatever that is done. So these are the sort of the basic tenets of an entrepreneurial mindset. You can see that this is a little broader than just entrepreneurship per se. This mindset, this is a document that is produced by the Kern Engineering Education Network. It's very detailed. I'm not going to go to this. This is available on their website. And again, it kind of lists, in addition to the so-called 3 C's that you see at the top there, they define some additional engineering skill sets that also lend themselves to someone being entrepreneurial. So our approach, and then all of you, I think, will be aware that engineering programs are very crowded in terms of the technical content. There is not a lot of room to grow that without taking content away, and there's a reluctance to do that. So what we have tried to do is really to embed these entrepreneurial topics into existing courses and not create new courses. So that's a fundamental component of the design, because we do not want to add more credits. And I'll show you how this is done in a creative way. So we are developing 18 short e-learning modules that essentially are self-paced that the students can take outside of the lecture session. So we provide a platform, which is a learning management system. I know that many schools in India have not yet adopted learning management systems, but it's probably coming. Almost all universities in the US have one version of this. The one we use is Blackboard. So these modules are integrated through that. Students have access to that online. Uh, these modules are then spread over all 4 years of the curriculum, starting from the freshman year through the senior year, in specific courses that students will take in the engineering programs. We are doing this across all our engineering and computer science programs. So the modules themselves are discipline independent, and so they can be integrated into a variety of different disciplines. We trained faculty who teach these courses to develop a contextual activity. So, these modules are like, you can think of it, they have some text, videos, some interactive exercises to engage students. But it's sort of like reading a book, and there's only so much you will learn from reading a book. Um, it really is when the students apply what they learn that they will really begin to master some of these concepts and skills. So we train the faculty really to develop a contextual activity in the course, which is related to the content of the course, where they will apply what they learned through the e-learning module that is embedded into the course on that activity, and therefore they get, by applying that, they learn more. So it's a reinforcing activity. We do, as I said, we are not increasing any course credits or content. The students may have to work a little bit more because these modules take about 6 to 9 hours to complete outside of class. So that's like homework time. That is an additional time that they have to spend. Um, Typically, these modules are launched over a 2-week period in the class. The instructor finds the right place in the class to do the for the students to do the work, and that's followed up by the contextual activity or a project. Um, so the rationale for this particular design is that we can reach a very large number of students. We want every single engineering and computer science student at our campus to be impacted by this. Not just those who elect to take a particular course or something like that, but really every single student. The modules can be integrated, as I said, into regular courses, and that's the format that is recommended. Um, it basically uses a flipped class instructional model because the students learn the content through the modules outside of class on their own. And then when they come back to class, the instructor engages them on that content through discussions and through the contextual activity. Students can learn the content asynchronously, so not during lecture time, but at their own time during a specified period. And that allows the learning to be, of course, to fit around their own schedule. So there's some flexibility on the part of the students there. And finally, the modules can be easily shared with other institutions. And we have actually sharing this very, very widely with institutions in the US. And I'll show you the list of those institutions as we go along. So these are the modules, the first 8 of them I show here. Now I've used a color coding here. The ones in green have already been developed and deployed in courses, both here and elsewhere. The ones in orange are ones that are being developed right now. There are 3 of them that are being developed right now. And the ones in red are yet to be developed. Now, the development of these, I could probably tell you a little bit about that we are not necessarily using only our faculty to develop these modules. We actually develop these using content experts from around the country, including those in the industry. So we issue a call for proposals. People submit proposals to develop these modules. We select one for each, or sometimes a couple for each module, and then we work with them, providing a course designer, instructional designer, and so on, a group of reviewers to review the content of each module as it's being developed. That's how these modules are developed, much like the way perhaps a textbook would be developed, finding the content experts who really know the material. So again, the green ones here are available, and you can see already that from the topics that are here, as I mentioned before, that this is not only about entrepreneurship, but it's more broader. So if you look at topics such as learning from failure, or thinking creatively to drive innovation, or new idea generation, these kind of topics are more broader than just entrepreneurship, but of course they help entrepreneurs as well. But they will also help employees or students when they work in other companies that already exist. Um, these are the remainder of the modules. Again, the ones in green have all been completed. The ones in orange are being developed right now, and the ones in red will be developed over the next year and a half. So I'll give you a moment to review, read through these.
Now, this is Ron. This is a list. This is being developed by how many people around the country?
Uh, Typically, each one of these has one developer. Some of them have two or three developers. If multiple proposals come in, we sometimes select a team that can complement each other to develop this. So there are probably, when this is done, there'll be about 20, 22 people who will be involved in the development of these modules.
So, how the way you work this out is the central location is at your institution, and then you send out requests
Yes.
for proposal or something. That's what you.
Yes, that's what we do. Yeah. So we are managing the process. We find the content experts. We find the reviewers to review it as the development progresses. We provide the instructional designers to put it into an online framework.
Mm.
So we provide those services. We train the instructors, and then we work with them.
Well, that's a pretty large establishment you probably have in your organization, right? Your college.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big endeavor. Obviously, it's a very ambitious approach.
Good, very good. Yeah.
Now, in the last year, these universities have all, so in addition to developing the modules, after we have tested it on our campus, we have launched a mini grant program through the grant that we have to facilitate other universities to deploy these modules. So again, we do a request for proposals, and faculty from various institutions submit them. And they say, okay, I want to deploy this module in this class, and the classes are in all disciplines. And I work through the deans and others to get to the faculty and to get them involved. Some of these are so-called keen institutions, a few of them, but many of them are institutions outside the keen network. And you can see that there are small private institutions, there are large public institutions like Penn State, Wichita State, and so on. But basically, there has been at least one faculty member or more from each of these institutions who we worked with over the last academic year for them to deploy a module in their course at their institution. And again, we provide all the training. We brought all the faculty together before the ASWE annual meeting last year, and we trained the faculty on how to use the modules, how to develop the contextual activities, and then we work with them through the year or through the semester as they launch them. So you can see that there were about 24 institutions represented here outside of the University of New Haven that have already had some experience in using.
Do you have
at
one
least
this
one.
year also with ASWE before ASWE?
Yes. So we brought them the day before ASW to run a workshop, a half-day workshop to train them. And we are doing that again this year. On June 23rd, we are having a workshop for those that will use it in the next year, which is this list of institutions. So we have another 16 or 17 institutions, as well as some repeat customers who will launch modules in this coming year. And so we're bringing all of the faculty involved. There's about 24 faculty, I think, to a workshop on June 23rd in Columbus, Ohio this year to train them. So you can see it's a fairly broad set of universities. So there's strong interest in this, and this kind of is a attribute of the scaling, the easy scaling of these modules or the deployment at other institutions across large ones, small ones, and so on. I've already kind of talked about this. So this is the module development process. So as I said, we use an RFP. We establish a review team to review the modules. the authors, and so we at the University of New Haven and a program director from the Keen select the proposals, the developer to be to be funded to work on this. The developers complete a 1 week online training course that we have developed. They do some webinar to learn a little bit more about Keen and its approach to the definition of entrepreneurship. And then they work with an instructional course designer that we provide in order to develop the module. Each of these modules typically takes about 4 months to put together. So it's not trivial because we want very high quality modules. And so it does take quite a bit of work to put that together. And typically we develop 3 or 4 simultaneously over a 4-month period. So we are right now, when I showed you the list earlier, there were some, those that were in orange. The 3 of them are being developed right now simultaneously. Now, in terms of using the modules in the class, this is the format that we use here at the University of New Haven, and it's the one that we are recommending and training faculty to use at their institutions as well. So at the top there, as I mentioned, the content related to a topic is delivered through the short e-learning modules. Students take them outside of the class at their own time, but during a set 2-week period. Then on the right, moving forward, the students need to be engaged, and the instructor has some responsibility there. We encourage instructors to engage in some online discussions. We use, as I said, the Blackboard platform to do that. And so this, the instructor can pose certain questions related to the module and engage the students in discussions. The students then respond to each other, and so this is a virtual discussion that takes place. Then the instructor also deploys a reinforcing contextual activity through a class project. So that's the oval on the bottom. And this, of course, can be an existing project that already is there in the class. It doesn't have to be a new project. It might have to be slightly tailored a little better to in a more focused way to address the content that is in the module and some of the learning outcomes there. But typically, we encourage instructors to use something that they already have in their classes to do this. And then there's an assessment piece, we do want to know the effectiveness of the module, and I think instructors do as well on how students are learning from these modules. So we encourage instructors to assess the student learning through the project, of course, the grading of the project, and perhaps also having a question in a final exam or in other exams that is related to the content in the modules. The modules themselves have some interactive exercises for students as they work through it to check their understanding, and it has a more comprehensive test at the end of each module, and we require that students at least achieve an 80% grade in that quiz at the end that is done. But typically it tends to be a multiple choice type of format, and we allow students 3 tries to kind of refresh them. This is more about what they learn. It's not really about testing what they know at that point in time. So we allow them to go back and review the module or parts of it that they may not have understood, retake that test until they achieve at least an 80% score before we say that they have completed the module. So, but then in addition to that, so we recommend that there is a question in an exam that is related to the module as well. So that's the assessment piece. So this is the way that the module is typically is deployed in the class. So let me then go through the deployment outline. The step 1 of that, so this is taking the module and how to integrate it into your class. So the step 1, of course, is that the instructor needs to know the content of the module. So the instructor also has to go through the module at some point in time before the class begins, so that they know what is covered in the module. In step 2, they basically attend a workshop that we conduct to train the faculty. As I mentioned to you, for the faculty in the US who are deploying this, we bring them together before the ASW conference to have a half-day workshop. We can trim that down, and if there are faculty involved in India who would like to deploy some of these modules, We can conduct a virtual training. It may not be as effective as an in-person training.
I think we even have it in conjunction with our annual conference just before that. It's a
Yeah,
must.
or it could be done. Yeah, it could be done right there. That's probably a better setting to do it. And then the next step is we faculty should revise their course syllabus to have at least some learning outcomes that are related to what's in the module, and they have to plan the reinforcing activity. And this is obviously going to be very different depending on which course the module is integrated in. So, it can be in an electrical engineering course, it can be in a mechanical engineering course, and the reinforcing project obviously is going to be different depending on the course and the content of the course. But quite often, an existing project can be tailored. The course syllabus should, as I mentioned, include at least a couple of the learning outcomes that is in the module, so that is also now a part of the course. So we encourage that. Here is an example from a project planning course that is we offer in our freshman year, and you can see the highlighted 8 and 9. Those are two outcomes that are related to a module called Learning from Failure, which is the module that we use in this particular course. So, the other 7 learning outcomes here had already existed for the course, and a couple of them were added related to the module that was integrated into the course. I'm also now showing the course outline and the lectures and the week-to-week kind of lectures. And in weeks 9 and 10 is when the students are expected to complete or work on the Learning from Failure module. And then in starting from week 11, there is a project in the class where the students apply what they learned through the module. This should also the focus on the module should also be reflected in the course outline, obviously, so that students know when and where to engage with it. Step 5, of course, is then to deploy the module in the class at the appropriate time. So depending on the class, it may be better to do it earlier in the class, later in the semester. It really depends on where it fits within the course. And then implementing so here is an example screenshot of the e-learning module. So this is how when you get into Blackboard, this is sort of the format in which the module appears. So there's on the left side, there is the table of contents, if you will. On the right side is the content associated with a particular area. And students will step through this. And some of these may be short videos, there may be text, interactive activities. That's the nature of the module. Step 6 is then to implement the contextual activity in the course. So this is typically a project. For example, in the project management course, the project is a small robotics manufacturing project where several teams have to work together to get the job done. Invariably, it's a complex enough project that they will fail at some point, or they will have some failure points. And that's where the Learning from Failure module then helps the students address how to deal with that failure and learn from it. And then the final step is to assess so here is the project that came up. And the final step is to assess the learning through an exam. And in the deployments we are doing inside the US through this MiniGrant program that we have, we do expect instructors to provide us how they have deployed this module in their course. They do some assessment activities. We ask them for their revised course syllabus, the contextual activity assignment sheet, and the assessment data. So all of this is being collected to assess the effectiveness of this approach as we deploy them around the country. I've already covered much of this. So this is how the Learning from Failure module is integrated into the project planning and development course. So these are the module, the learning outcomes of the module itself. So this is the developer who developed this Learning from Failure module, has these 5 learning outcomes that students will know or will be able to do when they complete the module. And each module has learning outcomes available with it. And you can see those ones that are highlighted here are the ones that are reinforced through the contextual activities. So 2 and 3 are particular ones that are then reinforced through the project that the students do in the classes. Here are some additional pieces of handouts that are related to this. So on the top left is, where the online module is done, when the online discussion is done in week 8. So the module is completed in week 7 and 8. The discussion is done in week 8. The contextual activity is done in weeks 8 through 12, and the assessment takes place at the end of the semester. The discussion questions, can vary, but here is a particular example. The question that the instructor poses to the students after they complete this module is explain the potential risks of failure and proposes solutions in terms familiar to various stakeholders. The students then engage in a Blackboard discussion or online discussion on that, and respond to each other, and they learn a little bit more through that activity. The contextual activity in the middle of the page there is the project itself, and as I mentioned, that's a robotics manufacturing project that we do. And then on the right there, you see additional, how questions are embedded into a final exam. So these are just some sample handouts that I wanted to kind of show you of how the instructors reflect on, engaged with the module. Now, the lessons that we have learned in going through this development and deployment process is that that the module content and the content in the target courses, it's best if they are related in some way. Now, as I told you earlier, the modules are not discipline specific. Okay, they are broader. So learning from failure, can be applied really to any discipline in engineering or computer science. And the content, so, but it does help if there's a relationship between the module and the content of the course so that you can tie them together. If they are very diverse from each other, it will be hard to do that. So let me take an example. One of the modules is adapting a business to a changing climate. Now, those business-oriented or business topic-oriented modules are a little bit more challenging to integrate into an engineering course, because unless you're talking about a specific business in your course, that may be a little bit harder to integrate into a course. Now, we have a specific course which is called Business Principles in Entrepreneurship for Engineers and Scientists. So we do have a course, and that course lends itself to integration of some of these modules. And in fact, in that course, we actually use 4 of these modules because they are very closely tied with the content of that particular course. So those are the only ones that may be a little bit challenging, the ones that are very focused on the business concepts. So developing a business plan, adapting a business to a changing climate, financing a business, these types of things are a little bit more challenging. And are perhaps best integrated into a course that has some focus on business concepts or entrepreneurship. But the others can be more broadly integrated into technical classes. The modules, the second bullet here, the modules help to have a consistent content across different instructors of a course. We have in our early freshman courses, we may have really multiple sections, 10 sections of a course running, and having an e-learning module, at least the content in the e-learning module is consistent. It's like a textbook that's a unifying thread across all the courses. And so we take a little bit of the instructor variability away by using these modules. We have, through the assessment processes so far, it's still preliminary because we've only done broad deployment across many institutions for a year now, but the early results show that students do learn entrepreneurial concepts in this way that we have done. Now, for this to work within an institution such as ours, so we are doing it, as I told you, very broadly across all programs, across 4 years of the undergraduate program. It needs administrative leadership and support. So I'm a champion for this within the college. And there are, as I mentioned to you, the faculty members, they all come from different disciplines. So in my team, I have people from civil engineering, from mechanical engineering, and systems engineering or industrial engineering. So we have people from multiple disciplines. They are champions within their own programs, but we work with instructors to make this happen. So that administrative leadership is important if you want broad integration across programs in a college or within even a single program. A department chair being a champion would certainly help integrate, implement this across a given program. And the deployment within the course must be well timed. So, as I mentioned, it could be done earlier in the semester, in the middle of the semester, late in the semester. It sort of depends on the course. But if it's timed well, it works well. In terms of future work here, as I mentioned, we have to finish developing about 9 modules. We are doing 3 of those right now. That will leave us to develop 6 more in the next 18 months. So that's our plan, so that by summer of 2018, we will have all 18 modules ready and being used. We will continue assessment activities through these deployments, and that's providing us lots of information about the effectiveness of these modules. We also use the materials that instructors provide to improve the modules, so we go through a revision cycle to improve the modules. We certainly are expanding and will continue to expand the deployment both inside and outside the University of New Haven. And we would love it if faculty in India would like to deploy this, and we can work with you to make this happen. The modules themselves are open source in the sense that we let other people use it. They are created under the Creative Commons copyright license, which allows anyone to use it with attribution. And if you don't have a learning management system at your institution, we can provide that, so the students at your institution can create an account on an open Blackboard site that we have in order to have access to the modules and use the modules. The only downside of that is that when it's integrated into your own learning management system, the grading done inside the module of the quiz and so on can be tracked through the grading sheet of your institution. But if we provide that service to you, then you won't have access to how students perform on the module. It's not a big handicap because you can then have students apply what they learned in your course there, and then you will get a sense of that anyway. So you lose a little bit of functionality, but not too much. So we can make that work for those of you who may be interested in deploying this within your institutions. And as I said, we will either, if you have a learning management system, we will ship it to you and work with you. Otherwise, you can use our Blackboard system to do this. So in terms of the Indian audience, the next steps, for those of you who may be interested in deploying this over the next year, if you express your interest by sending an email to the address that's shown there, which is keen@newhaven.edu, we can compile that list. And if we have a critical mass, I think we need a critical mass in order to make it worthwhile for us to go through and put on the training workshop and so on. But if we have a critical mass, even if it's only 5 or 6 institutions, that may still be worthwhile. And perhaps more than one faculty from an institution, or even if there's one. I mean, in our external deployment at these many other US universities, typically there is only one faculty member that we are working with at each institution. But that's really depends on your interest. We are willing to train as many of your people as needed. We can schedule a virtual training session in August for those who may be interested in doing this. If anybody is attending the ASW workshop, we have already actually secured the hotel's room space, meeting room space, and so on. We may not be able to accommodate too many people, but if there is just 1 or 2 people, a few people, we may be able to do that. And then we will support the development of the modules or the deployment of the modules at the institution during the next academic year for those of you who may be interested. So we are willing to work with you to give you access to the content of any of these modules that if you want to try this out at your institution. So that really is completes the webinar. And I give you some links there on that website at the bottom there that describes the full project. If you go in there, there is a link to the modules. If you go in there, you will see all the list of all 18 modules, the learning outcomes of those that are being developed, examples of the courses at the University of New Haven in which these modules are being integrated, and so on. So you can get a lot more information at that website that's shown there. So thank you very much for your attention, and yeah.
This is great, Ron. Can we take a little time to discuss this with the audience and flesh out some thoughts on? Can you go back to the previous slide, and we can.
Sure. There we go.
Yeah, this one. Next steps. Yeah, let's talk through this with the group that's here today, because I'm certain that we will do this. I'm quite confident because we have a lot of interest in entrepreneurship among the 75 colleges or so that are members of a consortium, IUC. Right. So IUC can actually help facilitate, coordinate from this end in India, and and we do have various courses that we offer using IUC offers these blended courses, pretty much like what the model that you have, where you have but we use this openly available Canvas as
so
the learning model.
We have worked with Canvas.
Yeah. So we use that very in a lot of our blended courses that we offer to all the institutions, outcome-based education and teaching and learning and so on. So this will fit right into that kind of effort that we are already engaged in. And so what I would like to do is, first of all, thank you for such a fantastic information webinar and such a fantastic program that you guys are doing. It's right on in terms of the needs of the colleges in India, as far as I can see. But I'd like to take this to them, and get them to give us some inputs. So let me ask a few questions of the. It's a reasonably small audience today, but it's totally not representative of all the 75 colleges. For a variety of reasons, they could not attend today. But I'm going to do a couple of polls over here just to get them to jog their mind a little bit in this direction. So I'm going to launch a couple of polls, and the first question would be, because many of the institutions, they do have a mandate from different places to teach entrepreneurship in their program. So I'm going to ask the first question: do you teach entrepreneurship in your institution currently? Then the answer could be yes, no, or if you're not familiar with it, you might answer that. So all the participants, could you respond to this survey that's saying, do you teach entrepreneurship in your institution currently? Yes, no, or maybe you're not sure. Okay, so just keep coming. I see the responses are coming already. So let's keep coming. As many of you as possible, please, and get in your votes. You can give it a few more seconds. Come on in. Just get me your information. Okay, so okay, just 5-6 more seconds. Come on, we need more people voting. So half of you are fast asleep there. Click the button. Click something in there. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to share that with you. So there is about 2/3 of the people that are here are. Let's see why it's not sharing, but I guess it's closed. About 2/3 of them have said that they. I'm not able to get it to share, so that should be showing, but it's not showing. But anyways, yeah, here it is. Okay, so it's about 2/3 say they do teach some form of entrepreneurship, and 1/3 say no. I'm going to quickly also now run another poll just to get let's see. Do you think your institution may be interested in what you're seeing today in this program? Any of these modules that you've heard about today? Would your institution find this useful to kind of deploy and become part of this program? A is yes, and B is no, and 3 is maybe. And just come on in, just jump right in, and give us your general idea what you think. I know some of you may not be in a position to decide this. You may be faculty members, and so you have to talk to your deans and department chairs and principals and so on if they would be interested. And but again, just judging from the response, I see that that there is a significant interest in this. About 2/3 of the participants say they're interested, and 1/3 said maybe. They will have to probably check with their things. So let us go back to the slide that Dr. Harichandran has, and let's see. I'm going to hide that. Oops. Okay, I'm going to go back to the main. Okay, here we go. So the next steps, and we're talking about something actually quite moving quite fast. When you talk about deploying modules, and which are the modules you're talking about right now? Which modules can they show interest in? Because you had a list of them before on one of the slides.
Yes, any of the ones that are in green are available right now.
Okay, can you flip back to some of those two slides?
Yes,
and maybe
I'll do that. And the ones that are in orange will actually be available. So here, these 3, 4, and 5 are available.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And here, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, and 16 are available.
Okay.
And 13 and 18, for example, are being developed right now and will be done by August. They will not, we will deploy them next year, so they may not have had a pilot run. But if people are bold, they can they can be the guinea pigs to test those.
And this particular number 14 is really sounds like something that everybody should be interested in. Building, sustaining, and leading effective teams and establishing performance goals fits into any course. Any project they do, any course.
Yeah, that can go in any. On the other one that's very popular is number 12, which is delivering an elevator pitch. So we have used this in our
another great one, communication skills. So
we have used this in our senior design. We have used this in our senior design projects to help train students to deliver their poster presentations in 2 minutes to judges.
Okay. So what I will do, Ron, and I'm pretty sure many of the folks who are on this call today will also be interested in several of these, I'm sure. But in order to get cast a larger net, we have 75 colleges that are consortium colleges. I'll be sending out this a very specific email using some of this information from your presentation. Could you send me a copy of your PowerPoint slides so I can pick out a few and use it for my email for some of the information? If you just email the slides to me. So let's go back again to your next steps that you had. This was the first step is interest in okay, express interest. Okay, definitely. And tell me a little bit, just curious, what is the involvement of Keen? They're obviously a very strong group with a lot of experience. So have they and New Haven together proposed this to NSF, or how has Keen put in some funding? How does that work?
No, the Keen has been funding us over a 4-year period. So the Kern Family Foundation has been funding us. So that's the support that we have used to develop and deploy these modules so far. Mm-hmm. The expectation is that the material that is developed is open source to at least the Keen institutions, but they have no problem it being open to others. As you see, we are working with other universities as well. And they will not support outside the US, so they are restricted to support only within the US, but they don't have a problem with us using it outside the US. And if you want to do broad scale deployment in India, that might take some funds. We'll have to figure out where that comes from. But for pilot deployment with minimal costs, we are willing to sort of do that pro bono initially to get it.
So the National Science Foundation is not involved with this in any way, is it?
No, they are not.
The Keen Foundation, okay.
Yes.
So if we were to get X number of faculty and X number of institutions of IUCE interested in so a certain number of these modules, you're saying we could have some kind of a virtual training session in August, and that's easy to arrange, just like we're having these webinars, and we can do this this kind of thing.
So an August training would be necessary if they want to use a module in the fall semester.
Correct.
But if they want to use a module in the spring semester, potentially we could do it in conjunction with your next annual conference there.
Gotcha.
And then so we could do an on-ground for the spring semester.
Well, I think all in India, the colleges are not all on the same calendar, and so
Right.
sometimes maybe some of them might start in semester might already have started before January. So maybe that group might some colleges start in December.
Right.
The second semester. The first semester starts right about now, next
Right.
week, and then second semester starts in December. But some, of course, follow the U.S. calendar, where the semester would start in September, and then
Right.
and
So we are flexible. We can schedule those training sessions as
well,
fits
perhaps
within the people who are
perhaps we
interested.
can perhaps we can have a virtual training session in August, and then maybe another one in January, face to face,
Yeah.
for those who are going to
Yeah.
do it at that point.
Yeah.
And how long would you visualize this virtual training session would involve? How many
We
hours?
spend about 5 hours. So we sort of do a half day workshop starting at noon to 5 here. It could be scaled back to about 3 hours, so we could do it in 3 hours probably.
So two
Uh,
or three webinars, we could maybe cover that up, right? Something like that. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
2 or 3 1 hour webinars might be able to.
Right. And
Might
so
be able
if we do it in a webinar format, we probably would do it in, as you say, in a sequence of webinars, because when we do it on ground, we actually get the faculty to have some discussions and to develop how they will implement it in their class, develop the contextual activity, and so on. So there's some time needed for faculty to do some work. We'll have to
right.
figure how to do that within a virtual setting. Otherwise, we may just do it as a do a front section, have them do some homework, come back to a second webinar, and
Right.
then
I think
discuss
that
and
might
things
make
like that.
sense. Yeah. And we can do that also on the learning modules, learning management system, like our Canvas system. We can do
Right,
that training
right.
also on that,
Yeah.
so that they have some assignments to follow
Yeah.
through and so on. So this is exciting. And what are the chances, Ron, of getting you to come again in January to this next year's conference?
Yeah, so I can try to see if I can, and I'll make a good faith effort to to
Good,
come
great, great.
if,
Because
if
it'd be
there's
exciting
interest.
to have a half a day session, just somewhere within those days,
Right.
focused on just so that we can do the planning before time, before that, and we can get all the right
Yeah.
people lined up, and having done some pre-work and preparation, the training
Yeah.
session we can maximize the value of that training session by doing these things
Sure.
beforehand. And I think okay, so I'll let me see if participants any comments, questions that you might have to for Dr. Ron Harichandran. I think because you have shown a lot of interest, what do you think? What should IUC be doing? What is the role of IUC, and what is your institution? What is the how what should we go about trying to convince you or your management and trying to move this forward? Are there any one or two modules that you might have spotted in this webinar today, which you might think might be useful? Can we have a little chatting if you're not too exhausted this late afternoon here? Uh, let's see. Okay, I'm just going to wait for a little bit, see if somebody has any thoughts on this. Anybody want to talk? I can unmute anybody who wants to talk. That's also a possibility. Okay, well, I guess they have to think a little bit more about the details. I think
Yeah.
there's quite a lot of information in what you've given, and I think most of them pretty much have to go back to their management and bounce it off of them. So what I'm going to suggest is that I want to thank you for your support, and so you're saying at University of New Haven, pretty much all the departments are engaged in using
Yes.
these modules at in some way or the other, right? But I should convince my
Yeah.
folks at University of Massachusetts Lowell. Have they been involved? I didn't see the name in there.
I don't think anybody from there has submitted a request. Yeah.
So the okay, one question, a request has come up. Can we request a few lines, or 5 lines for each of the 18 modules, so that we can
So
kind of.
that's available at the on this website. In the last line here, the newhaven.edu/keen. So on that
Okay.
website, there is a link to the modules, and all the learning objectives for each module are listed there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
So
that's great. So that way we can do that. So yeah, Prakash, good question, Prakash. I think we can propagate, communicate this to all our folks with not just the names of the modules, but have them go through this link and get some more details. And I think we will. I think we'll follow up. I think we'll save the specific email about this to all our consortium colleges and maybe the industry teaching fellows, that we have a group of people from industry, some retired and some active, who are also helping us in various ways with our programs. And I think they might be interested in kind of helping, maybe work with some of the faculty as mentors to build on the ideas that you have already proposed. So yeah, this is exciting. So I'm pretty sure we're going to take you up on this offer, Ron. So
Okay.
count
All
on
right.
count on being a little busy with Indian colleges starting slowly this year, and some of them might come to the US sometime. But I think we have an India branch meeting of the IUC in Columbus, but I'm not sure too many people from India will be coming to that
Right.
one. So that's a little expensive. So that's the main reason. But I know there's a lot of excitement for entrepreneurship in the curriculum in India, and accreditation. All the agencies are wanting to do that. There was one thing that in there that can you go back to the first set of modules? I was just very fascinated by one particular. It's an orange. I'm just curious what the. Yeah, this one here, generating new ideas based on societal needs and business opportunities, particularly the one that's says based on societal needs.
Yeah.
This is a lot like service learning, right? Or community-based projects or EPICS program that Purdue has, right?
Yeah, but here, when I say societal needs, it also could be, market needs in the community, or So I mean, yeah, a lot of this is happening in India. I saw some great presentations when I was there for the ICTIE conference about the entrepreneurship. So some of them are doing that. So I mean, in remote villages or even in main cities in India, there may be particular needs that are different from what is here in the US or in other parts of the world. And they present then opportunities for providing products or services to address those needs.
Yeah, but I like the idea of combining these with specific courses. I think that kind of then makes it a fixture, a long-term connection to the courses. So that's fantastic.
Right.
So thank you very much, Ron. We will be taking this forward. I really appreciate it, and have a good day. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, bye-bye.